I'm not going to apologize for needing more, she said after I caught her with my best friend, so I blocked both of them. Now my ex-best friend is broke, and she's working a dead-end job. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I'm an architect. Or I was. Now I'm just me. But before all this, I was Mark, an architect who spent 5 years building a life with Sarah. We met in college, a quiet, intense guy and a vibrant, charismatic girl. She was everything I wasn't, and I loved that. She was a hurricane of spontaneous ideas, and I was the lighthouse, the anchor in the storm. We balanced each other out. Our life was a carefully constructed blueprint, a cozy apartment in the city, weekend trips planned on a shared calendar, a mutual bank account with future home as the main goal. It felt solid, real, and safe. My best friend, Dave, was a different story. He was a freelancer, a graphic designer who flitted from one passion project to the next. He was all about living in the moment, chasing the next big thing, and he often talked about how my life was too structured. I just laugh it off. We were two different kinds of people, but we'd been through too much together to let it come between us. He was the one I called to celebrate a promotion, the first one to know when I was thinking of proposing to Sarah. He was family. The betrayal, when it came, wasn't a sudden explosion. It was quiet, like a slow leak. I should have seen the signs, I guess. The late-night texts, the secretive laughs, the way their conversations would stop whenever I walked into the room. I chalked it up to them just getting closer as friends. I trusted them both, implicitly. Sarah had even been the one who suggested I invite Dave to live with us temporarily after his last passion project fell through and he ran out of money. He needs a stable place to land, she'd said, and we have the space. I didn't hesitate. I was building a life, and I wanted the people I loved in it. The plan was a surprise birthday trip for me, a weekend getaway to a small cabin in the woods that Sarah knew I'd love. She helped me pack on Wednesday night, kissing me goodbye and promising a great weekend. The next day, I was at the airport, my bags checked, when the flight was suddenly canceled due to a storm. I couldn't get another flight out until the next morning. My gut told me to just go home. I'd surprise her, order some takeout, and we'd have a cozy night in. I called an Uber, and the driver dropped me off at the corner of our street. I walked the final block, a smile on my face, the key in my hand. I was so excited. I was so stupid. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open quietly, intending to call out her name, but a sound from the bedroom stopped me cold. It was a familiar laugh. Dave's laugh. And then her voice, low and breathless. The world tilted. My heart, the one that had felt so full just moments before, turned to lead in my chest. I walked toward the bedroom, my footsteps silent on the hardwood floors, and stopped in the doorway. There they were, my girlfriend and my best friend, tangled up in my sheets, on my bed, in the home I had worked so hard to build. The air felt thick and still, like before a storm. I just stood there, my bag still in my hand, and watched them. It was a tableau of betrayal, silent and devastating. They didn't even see me at first. I cleared my throat, a small sound that felt like a shotgun blast in the silence. They both froze. Sarah's eyes went wide, not with shock or remorse, but with a kind of annoyed frustration, like I had just interrupted something important. Dave's face, usually so expressive, was completely blank. He just stared at me, almost bored. Sarah scrambled to pull the sheet over herself. Mark, I can explain. I didn't say a word. I just looked at her, then at Dave. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. All the late-night texts, the hushed conversations, the excuses. Look, I'm not going to apologize for needing more than what you were giving me, she said, her voice dripping with an entitled defiance that made my stomach churn. We can talk about this later, but you can't just come home without calling first. It wasn't an apology. It was an accusation. She was mad at me for catching her. Dave just watched, still silent, a smirk barely visible on his face. I looked at them both, at the mess they had made of my life, and for the first time, I felt nothing. No anger, no tears, just a cold, empty void. All I saw was a stranger in my home and a former friend who was less than dirt. I walked away from the doorway and went into the living room, setting my bags down. My mind was a blank slate. I wasn't thinking about what to do next or how to react. My body was just moving on autopilot. I went to the guest room, the one I had just finished repainting for Dave, and pulled a duffel bag from the closet. The silence from the master bedroom was deafening. I could hear muffled whispers, but I couldn't make out the words. I didn't care to. I just started pulling clothes from the dresser and my closet, stuffing them into the bag. My hands were steady, too steady. Sarah finally came out, wearing one of my shirts and a pair of leggings. She stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, and watched me pack. Dave didn't follow her out. He stayed in the bedroom, like the coward he was. "Mark, what are you doing?" she asked, her voice calm, almost placid. "I think it's pretty obvious, Sarah," I said, zipping up the bag. "I'm leaving." "Just like that? You're not even going to talk about it?" "Talk about what? You being with Dave? It's not that simple." I looked at her, and for the first time, a flicker of something real broke through the numbness. "It's exactly that simple. You cheated on me. With my best friend. In our bed. What else is there to say?" Her expression hardened. "You're making this sound so black and white. You're not listening to me. We were drifting apart. I told you I felt like you were always so focused on your career, on the next promotion, on the future home. I wanted to live in the present. I wanted more spontaneity, more passion." I shook my head slowly, still packing. "Spontaneity? You mean sleeping with my best friend?" "It wasn't like that. It just happened. We spent so much time together. He gets me in a way you never will. He understands the creative side of me. The side that needs to live freely, not be tied to a rigid schedule." I paused, looking at her. "I'm an architect, Sarah. My whole job is based on schedules and blueprints. You knew that when we met. You used to love that. You said I was dependable, that I was a good man. You told me you felt safe with me. And I did. But that's not enough anymore," she said, her voice rising slightly. "I'm a different person now, Mark. I've grown. We just grew apart. Grew apart." I finally broke eye contact with her and focused on the duffel bag in my hands. "I took time off work to help your dad with his business proposal. I spent 3 months of weekends building that new patio for your parents. I put our savings on hold to help you pay off your car loan. I did all of that because I wanted a future with you. Was that not enough? Was that not spontaneous enough for you?" She had no answer. She just looked at the ground, and for a second, I thought I saw a flicker of something close to shame. But then she looked up at me, and it was gone, replaced by the same smug certainty. "That's not what this is about. I'm not a bank account, Mark. I'm a person with needs." I just stared at her for a long time, letting the absurdity of her words sink in. A person with needs. It was pure, unfiltered hypocrisy. I closed the duffel bag and put it over my shoulder. I didn't say another word. There was nothing more to say. I walked past her, down the hallway, and out the front door. I didn't look back. I didn't shout, or plead, or cry. I just left. From the street, I pulled out my phone. I went to her contact and hit block. Then I found Dave's name and did the same. And with that simple click, they were gone. Erased. The next few weeks were a blur of quiet, dignified pain. I stayed with my sister for a bit, sleeping on her couch, trying to process the fact that my entire life had been a lie. I didn't talk to anyone about it. Not my parents, not my other friends. I just let the silence sit with me. It was in that silence that the pain really started to sink in. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was a complete dismantling of everything I had been building. I sat with the confusion, the unfairness, the quiet rage, and I just let it breathe. I didn't want to beg, or plead, or argue for a love that wasn't real. I just wanted to disappear, and for a little while, I did. After 2 months on my sister's couch, I knew I couldn't stay there forever. The quiet of her apartment was no longer peaceful. It was deafening. It was time to start building something new. I found a tiny, one-bedroom apartment on the other side of town, somewhere I knew Sarah and Dave would never look for me. It was small, but it was mine. No memories, no ghosts. It was a blank slate. I threw myself into work. I took on every project, stayed late, and worked weekends. The stress and emotional exhaustion were a kind of fuel. It was all I had. I put every ounce of my energy into my designs, my blueprints, and my deadlines. It was an escape. I started going to the gym and lifting weights. The physical exhaustion was a welcome distraction, a different kind of pain to focus on. My body changed, and so did my mind. The bitterness slowly started to fade, replaced by a quiet sense of purpose. About 6 months after I left, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer it, but my curiosity got the better of me. It was a mutual friend, Chris. "Hey man, I know you've been off the grid," he said, sounding awkward. "Look, I just wanted to see how you were doing. And to tell you I'm sorry. I had no idea what was going on." "It's fine, Chris," I said, my voice flat. "No, it's not fine," he insisted. "You're a good guy, Mark. Sarah and Dave, what they did was messed up. We all thought they were so happy together. I didn't ask what had happened. I didn't need to. He told me anyway. So, yeah, Dave got fired from his last gig," Chris said, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. He was supposed to be designing this big ad campaign for a client, but it turns out he just took a bunch of templates he bought online, passed them off as his own, and got caught. The client pulled the contract and demanded a refund. Now he's basically blacklisted in the industry, and he's broke. A small part of me felt a grim satisfaction, but it was a fleeting thing. I wasn't angry anymore, just detached. Chris kept going. "And Sarah, man, she is not the same. She got fired from her marketing job a few months ago after she posted some rant about her boss on her professional account, and now she's working at the checkout counter at that big box store downtown. She hates it. She's always complaining. I see her all the time, and she looks exhausted. She and Dave are always fighting about money. They're both completely miserable." He paused, waiting for a response. I gave him a simple one. Okay, he said, clearly expecting more. "That's it. Yeah. What do you want me to say, Chris?" "I don't know, man. I guess that it's awful, that you feel bad for her." I almost laughed. "Chris, I don't feel anything. I'm busy. My life is good. I'm happy." He went quiet. I could tell he didn't know how to respond to that. He'd been expecting the same old Mark, the one who'd feel sorry for her. But that Mark was gone. We ended the call shortly after. That was the first time I heard from the outside world. The trickle of information from mutual friends confirmed Chris's story. Sarah and Dave's life was not the spontaneous, passionate adventure she had hoped for. It was a cycle of bitterness, financial stress, and mutual resentment. It turns out needing more was just another way of saying, "I want a life I didn't have to work for." And it hadn't worked out for her. The karma was a quiet thing, not a thunderclap. It was just the natural consequence of her own choices. The first contact from her was a text message a few weeks after my conversation with Chris. It was from an unknown number. "Hey, I know you've blocked me on everything," it read. "I just wanted to say that I miss you." I deleted the message without a second thought. It was just a stranger's number now. Then came a phone call. I let it go to voicemail. The message was her, a little shaky. "Mark, it's me. Sarah, I'm going through a really tough time right now. I really need to talk to someone. I'm sorry about everything." The word sorry felt cheap, like a counterfeit bill. I didn't return the call. Her attempts became more frequent, more frantic. She messaged me from new numbers, sometimes sending long, rambling paragraphs about how unhappy she was, how Dave had turned out to be a deadbeat, and how she regretted everything. Her messages were laced with a twisted sort of passive aggression. "I hope you're happy. I know I'm not." It escalated when her friends and family got involved. My phone, which had been silent for so long, started buzzing with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I finally answered one, and it was her friend Jessica. "Mark, what is wrong with you?" she demanded, her voice full of righteous indignation. "Sarah is a mess. She is so sad. Why are you doing this to her? She just wants to talk to you. You're being so cruel." I calmly replied, "Jessica, Sarah is an adult. She made her choices, and now she's dealing with the consequences. I'm not responsible for her happiness or her sadness. This conversation is over." I hung up before she could respond and immediately blocked her number. Her mother called next. "Mark, this isn't the boy I raised my daughter to be with," she said, her voice strained. "She loves you. You need to forgive her. Families work through these things." "Mrs. Davis," I said, my voice as professional and detached as possible, "I'm not a part of your family. You raised your daughter, not me. She made her choices. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, and she shouldn't be asking for mine. Goodbye." Her attempts became more desperate, and with each failure, more angry. The last message I received from her was a tirade from a burner email account. "You're a coward, Mark. You ran away, and you're hiding. You were never a man. Just a little boy who was scared to face anything real. I hope you're happy living your boring little life. The irony of her calling me boring, when her life was a dumpster fire of her own making, was so complete that I actually smiled. I deleted the email and put my phone away. The attempts had become a joke, and I had no intention of being the punchline. About a year and a half after I moved out, a mutual friend, Liam, was getting married. He was one of the few people I still trusted. The wedding was at a small, elegant venue downtown, one of those places with a big outdoor patio and a minimalist design. I walked in feeling great. My life had a new shape, a new purpose. My firm had just promoted me to a senior project manager, and my new apartment felt like a real home. I saw her almost immediately. Sarah was on the far side of the patio, setting up a beverage station. She was in a simple black uniform with an apron, part of the catering staff. My heart didn't jump. It didn't sink. I just felt nothing. A quiet recognition, like seeing a distant acquaintance you haven't thought about in years. She looked tired, her hair pulled back in a sloppy bun, makeup smudged. She was a different person. Then she saw me. Her eyes widened, and she dropped a stack of glasses, which shattered on the pavement. The sound drew the attention of a few other guests, but she didn't seem to notice. She just stared at me, her mouth slightly agape. I didn't acknowledge her. I went inside to find a drink. A little later, when I was alone getting another glass of champagne, she appeared beside me. "Mark," she said, her voice a whisper, almost breathless. "You're here." "I am," I said, not looking at her, focused on pouring my drink. "I didn't know you were coming. I was invited. Liam and I have been friends for years." She fell silent for a moment. Then, with a tone of false intimacy, she began her script. "Mark, I just want you to know how sorry I am. For everything. I made a huge mistake. Dave, he was just a rebound. He's been awful. I miss you. I miss us." She was so close I could smell the stale scent of the kitchen on her clothes. I finally turned to look at her. My expression was calm, polite, and completely devoid of emotion. I was the professional, speaking to a client whose contract was long expired. "You're not sorry, Sarah. You're miserable," I said. "And you're only sorry because it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. You said you needed more, and you went out and got it. That's what you wanted, right?" "No. I wanted you," she insisted, her voice cracking slightly. I thought if I went out and explored what I needed, I'd realize it was you all along." I took a slow sip of my champagne, letting her words hang in the air. "Sarah, you sound like you're reading from a script. But this isn't a movie. It's life. I don't feel anything for you. Not hate, not anger, not even pity. You're just irrelevant. You made a choice, and so did I. My choice was to walk away and build a new life. And I did. It's a good life. It's a happy life. It's a life where I'm not a backup plan." The color drained from her face. She had expected begging, or a fight, or a long-lost love story. She got nothing but a cold, hard fact. She was a stranger to me. I had completely moved on. I put my now empty glass on her tray. "Enjoy the wedding, Sarah. I'm going to go celebrate my friend." I walked away without looking back, leaving her standing there, a server at an event she had no part in, a ghost from a life that no longer mattered to me. The power dynamic had flipped, the tables had turned, and she was left with the consequences. I was free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.